Hello and welcome, I'm BluenoseLJ. Saturday's early afternoon home defeat at the hands of Newcastle United was Everton's 19th league game of this Premier League season, and so marked the midway point of the 2020-2021 campaign. So let's analyse Everton's season at the halfway point. Everton currently sit in 8th position on 33 points. They are 6 points behind 4th place Leicester and 11 points behind league leaders Manchester City. Now, this is in stark contrast to last season, where at this point Everton sat in a lowly 13th position on 22 points, 10 points off of 4th, and a whopping 30 points behind the league leaders who were Liverpool. There has then been a marked improvement on last season, points-wise at least. Everton currently have 50% more points than at this same stage last season. Although performance-wise, anyone who endured the game against Newcastle, where Everton were outplayed and outclassed by a Newcastle side that had not won for 9 league games and had lost their last 5 games in the league, could be forgiven for asking exactly where this improvement was. But had Everton managed to overcome their opponents and won the game, they would have gone 5th and sat just 3 points behind Leicester in 4th with 2 games in hand on them. However, this season has been a strange one, and it seems that everybody seems to be beating everyone. Results have been all over the place, and we've seen some shocking results, none more so than the Reds from across the park having a savage 7-2 mauling at the hands of Aston Villa, and of course the 9-0 utter tonking of Southampton by Manchester United. While the weekend's defeat against Newcastle was indeed a hard one to take, especially the manner of the performance in the defeat, and obviously it didn't help our push for a top 4 or top 6 finish, it was not altogether as disastrous as it could have been. With other results going Everton's way, Manchester United drawing, and Leicester City, West Ham and Spurs all losing, Everton remain well within the hunt for a Europa League spot, and by all means, a Champions League finish is nowhere near out of our reach. Everton have at least one game in hand over the teams that are above them, namely Manchester City and Spurs, and in most cases, Leicester, Liverpool, West Ham and Chelsea, Everton have played 2 games less, and Everton have now played 3 games less than second place Manchester United. One win would see Everton jump back up into 5th, and 2 wins would amazingly see Everton within 1 point of third place Liverpool. If Everton were to win the 3 games in hand, Everton would be just 2 points behind Manchester United, who incidentally Everton play at the weekend. We must also remember that this season is Carlo Ancelotti's first full season in charge of Everton. He has had just one summer transfer window to recruit his own players, where he brought in 4 first-team players, Allen, Decore, Godfrey and Rodriguez, all of which have been awesome when they've been fit. Amazingly, we spent just 60 million on these 4 players, which when you consider what we have spent in the past on totally average players and the money that we have wasted on utter garbage, it is an absolute steal. We also brought in Nkunku, who at just 19 is clearly one for the future. And at 200 grand, may in time turn out to be one of the most cost-effective purchases of recent years, and certainly since Seamus Coleman. Nobody outside the Everton faithful themselves, including Ancelotti, realistically gave Everton any chance of a top 4 finish this season, and most would have had Everton fighting for a finish somewhere between 6th and 10th. I personally had Everton finishing between 6th and 8th. Even 10th, by the way, would have been an improvement on last season, where Everton finished in a cringe-worthy 12th position. Ancelotti's rebuild of Everton was never going to be an instant transformation. So short was the squad that he inherited in quality and confidence, although certainly not numerically, there was simply too much to do in one summer window. Ancelotti simply needs time to bring in the players that he wants to and get rid of the deadwood. Bringing in 10 new players in one window was unrealistic and is proven not to work. Now, we saw this with Koeman. A slow rebuild is what is required. One that will probably be stretched over at least 3 windows, but more likely specifically 3 summer transfer windows. Only after Ancelotti has had these transfer windows can Everton even start to be considered Carlo's Everton. And at this point, Everton should, if all goes to plan, be genuine top 4 contenders. The fact then that Everton are still in the running for the upper echelons of the Premier League, and not only the Europa League, but the Champions League, in what can only be considered a transitional season, is testament to how much Everton have actually improved as a team, both in quality and confidence. And the fact that Everton fans are disappointed with being 8th, within touching distance of those that are above them, is proof as to how far expectations have been increased since Ancelotti took charge. Everton have disappointingly crashed out of the Carabao Cup in disappointing fashion to Manchester United, but we do remain in the FA Cup, although a very tricky home tie against Spurs awaits us next week. Of course, a win in that game would see Everton into the quarter-finals of the competition that they won in 1995. Oh, the need for a trophy at Everton cannot be underestimated. We need a trophy of any sort. Where is the Zenith Data Systems trophy when you need it? Oh yeah, we lost the final of that in 1991 anyway, so that probably wouldn't help us anyway. An honest evaluation of Everton's season so far gives us mixed messages. At times, Everton have looked like they can compete with anyone, and results which have included wins against Leicester, Chelsea, Arsenal and Spurs clearly demonstrate this fact. However, at other times we have looked poor, unable to rise to the occasion and overcome teams like Newcastle, who we've lost to twice, Southampton and Leeds. The defeat to Manchester United was less surprising, and even to a certain extent, the defeat by West Ham maybe not have been that shocking in the light of their current league position. Everton now have a starting 11 that, when playing to the best of their ability, are a real contender for the top 4 spot. However, we are short squad-wise of at least 4 or 5 players, and when we lose even one of our starting 11, such as we have with Allen over recent weeks, the squad weakness can be clearly seen. It was even more evident when we lost a number of the 11 a couple of months back. January's transfer window has been a quiet one on the incoming front at Goodison. A deadline deal for Joshua King being the only acquisition in this window. Everton have managed, though, to rid themselves of some of the deadwood that has been long cluttering up the squad and wage bill. Yannick Bolasie, Cenk Tosun, Matthew Pennington and Bentley Beningame have all departed, albeit all on loan, and first-team fringe players John Joe Kenny and Anthony Gordon have also gone out on loan. The only real surprise was that the deal to take Bernard away from Goodison Park failed to materialise. Now, this may not be such a bad thing. The little Brazilian magician can be a valuable asset to the squad when he is on form. The problem is that this, so far during his Everton career, has been on far too few an occasion. Let's hope that he can find some form between now and the end of the season, if called upon by Ancelotti, although on past experience I wouldn't hold your breath. As for our new striker, Joshua King, the jury most certainly is out, without him having even kicked a ball in an Everton shirt. His signing for the Toffees is probably a bit underwhelming, to say the very least. However, the signing of a player who has Premier League experience and has scored a decent amount of Premier League goals for a less than brilliant Bournemouth side may well not be such a bad acquisition after all. The deal is for the remainder of the current season, and the fee somewhere around $5 million. So it's not really much of a financial gamble. King is likely to be seen as a stopgap until the summer, when Everton will be in a much better position to bring in a striker of the calibre that Ancelotti will be and should be aiming for. However, seeing the expectations of Everton fans, King has nothing to lose. If he fails to impress, then he simply goes back to Bournemouth at the end of the season having lived up to those lowly expectations. But if he shines, he could end up either saving Everton a huge amount of money, or he could at least become a decent member of the squad. One of those much needed 4 or 5 players that we desperately need. He, of course, can play as a lone striker, as a partner for Calvert-Lewin, or even as a winger. His pace and versatility may yet be a genuine positive addition to the current squad for the remainder of this season, and may in fact give us a new dimension to our play that we have lacked so far this season. If he helps us push on this season and compete for a European place, then we may look back at this and wonder why we ever questioned the signing and didn't just trust Ancelotti's judgment. There is still a long way to go, and this season could end up being a massive success or ultimately end up being a damp squib. What is evident is that despite the Newcastle defeat, Everton are in a much better position points-wise and squad-wise than they were this time last season. It would take an almighty collapse for Everton to end the season having not made significant progress on last season's points total of 49 and the 12th place finish. Personally, as things stand, I would give Everton a grade of C+, which is a vast improvement on the F of where we finished last season, but is still a long way short of the level in which we need to reach. Let's see how the second half of this season plays out, which starts with a trip to Elland Road for a dangerous but certainly a winnable encounter against Leeds on Wednesday. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It does help my channel, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video.